for the most part, I actually really didn't like it because it was hard. But I think I just fell in love with being outside of what I was used to. Our kangaroos and wallabies, they spook all the deer, usually because they all see us first, and then the deer will be like, what's going on? Oh, okay, we're running. So I'm talking about our passes to get into the Western Hunt Expo. I even wrote in the email, Kimmi Greentree, and it just says Kim Greentree, and I'm like, who the is that? Like, at the beginning, I was just like, why did you post that? It's disgusting. And now I'm just like, oh, I hate that photo, but whatever. I think that it's really weird that when people are like, oh my God, you're so inspiring, and watching everything that I do, I'm just like, I just don't get it. People are so scared of doing stuff that they're not used to doing. So once you push past that, you actually crave doing stuff that you're not used to doing. Hi, I'm Kimmi Greentree, and you're listening to Living Country in the City.
Y'all ready for your dose of flyover state spirit? Straight from the concrete jungle? Well, put down your latte and pull on your boots. It's time for Living Country in the City.
Hey y'all, welcome to episode 103 of Living Country in the City. Y'all, once again, warmer weather is coming up, and with that warmer weather comes a huge increase in the population of ticks. And y'all know if you've ever had to carry an animal out of the backcountry or even just quartering it in the field, you're almost guaranteed to walk away with little creepy crawly critters all over you. And we all know that ticks can carry all sorts of nasty diseases, from Lyme disease to red meat allergies, which is the nightmare of hunters. So y'all, I want you to head on over to Sawyer.com/Lyme-disease and check out the crazy effective products that Sawyer offers to protect against ticks. And also make sure you check out their infographics on that page. They've got a lot of really cool ones on tips on how to protect yourself, ways to add that little bit of protection that you may not have considered. So head on over to Sawyer.com/Lyme-disease. Also, y'all, if you are looking to start a brand, a podcast, or just generally upgrade your web presence, I'm not sure if y'all know, but I do web design. So a little personal promo here. I've been doing a lot of work recently with outdoor brands, taxidermists, and even non-outdoor related companies. In fact, I have just recently released a new website that I'm super excited to tell y'all about. If y'all have been listening to the podcast, you heard him in episode 101. Brandon Waddell is putting on Mountain Archery Fest. I worked with him and we completely revamped his website. Make sure y'all check it out, mountainarcheryfest.com. If y'all are looking to really upgrade your web presence and make a real impact, hit me up. You can check out some of the sites I've done prior to this at livingcountryinthecity.com/website-design, or you can just head on over to the website. There is a menu item dedicated to that. Check out the websites I've worked on. I can work with almost any budget, and as I've said before, I'm not above wheeling and dealing to get you into a brand new website. Yeah, I promise I won't do that again. Y'all, we will find something that you will be stoked on, and if you talk to anyone I've worked with before, they will tell you you will not get anywhere near the level of service that I offer. So make sure y'all check that out if you are looking to get yourself into a brand new website. And once again, quick reminder that in the next couple of weeks, Living Country in the City will be rebranding to the Wild Initiative. So keep an eye out for that. Don't be surprised when the logo and the name and the intro and, well, pretty much everything except for the same awesome content coming out week after week. So y'all, make sure you keep an eye out for the Wild Initiative. So getting on to today's episode, back at Hunt Expo, I got a chance to sit down with the one and only Kimmi Greentree. Y'all, we had an awesome time talking about family and hunting and first harvest. So I really hope you all enjoy today's episode with Kimmi Greentree. All right, well, here we are, another episode of Living Country in the City. If you guys cannot hear all the clamor and the duck calling and elk calling in the background, there hasn't been quite as much aggressive elk calling this year, but it's only Thursday.
It is only Thursday, so it's pretty quiet. There's a lot of kids here for some reason. I didn't notice this many kids last year when I was here, which I guess is kind of good because it's like, let's get the next generation sort of excited.
It feels like school groups almost have come out.
I've
noticed 2 or 3 of these groups.
In Australia, we would say like an excursion, but I think you guys call it a
field trip.
Field trip, that's right, yeah.
Is it, so what else? Is it like holiday over there, or is it vacation?
Oh, holiday.
Holiday, okay.
Yeah, we're kind of British. We're a little bit
Yeah.
British. I think it's,
Yeah.
that's
Well, you're all
we
British
started.
criminals,
yeah,
right? Isn't that how it started?
Exactly. Although, not me. I'm only just like Australian. So my dad was born in England,
Okay.
and so my mum was born in Australia, but her family, like her parents, were born in England. So I'm not that far removed
Gotcha.
from England, and I
Okay.
wasn't a convict.
Oh, there you go. Well, we could make this really, really confusing. I lived in Ireland for a year. I could do my Irish accent.
Right.
And we
I
could just
wouldn't
make it
understand you.
completely-
Okay, you do your Irish accent, and I'll do my British accent,
Okay.
and then people will hate us.
Hey, so we're having a great time out hunting, and these mingers come up to us, and one's like, I saw this banger buck, boy, I'll tell you what, so. And I was sneaking up on it, but boy, I was knackered drunk. You wouldn't believe it, so.
Oh
what a
my
great
God,
time.
you're very, very good at it. I have to be a special kind of drunk to do my British accent.
I don't know,
So-
we may have to do a continuance of this podcast at some point this evening, depending on where you all end up.
Okay.
Or at least do like an
All right,
Instagram story or something.
Yes, yeah,
Well-
that'll be good.
We'll do a nice little Instagram story follow-up to
Okay.
the
okay.
podcast.
And I'll do my British accent.
There we go. But-
Totally.
well, if you guys haven't figured this out by now, we are at the Western Hunting and Conservation Expo, and if you can't tell by the accent, I am here with the one and only Kimmi Greentree. So,
Yes.
Kimmi, one thing I always like to start out with is just a little introduction about yourself and how did you really get introduced into hunting? Because you don't have a long storied background in it.
No. So a little bit about myself. Like, I'm sort of in the later part of my life, unfortunately. No, I met this guy like about nearly 20 years ago, and he was like, I hunt. And I'm like, what? What's that? And he's like, no, I shoot a bow and arrow and I hunt things. And I'm like, I was just like, no. Yeah, I was lost for words, and then
That's weird. Who does things like that?
I know. Well, because I'm such a city. I was, brought up in
Yeah.
the suburbs, city girl. Went camping a little bit when I was a kid and stuff like that, but not really in a trailer.
Yeah, got
Or
a cement block with some grass next
and
to it.
there's toilets and facilities
Mhm.
and all that. So not too far removed from, normal house type situation. And it was awesome. Like, I loved my childhood, but so when I met this one, everything changed. But yeah, I wasn't really in, like, once I learned about it and everything like that, it was always like, oh, that's Adam's thing. Not that there was anything wrong with that. It was just not anything that I was like happy to sort of do with him or anything like. I wasn't interested basically in anything like that. And so when he went to, it was on his first elk hunt, whenever that was. I think it was about 6 years ago. And he was in New Mexico, and he's pretty good with the camera and taking photos and documenting what he does. And when he got home, he was showing me all these photos of Indian petroglyphs and on the top of mesas and sunsets and just amazing stuff. And I'm like, well, this is fucked. I want to see this too. I want to see what you get to see and experience what you have been experiencing. Like, not that I regret not like having kids and stuff like that, but that was primarily what I wanted at the time. I just wanted to get married and be a mom and have babies and stuff like that. So I think it just got to a point that maybe I was just looking for something else. And yeah, and I was like, I think that we need to do this together, and I want to get to see what you're seeing and experience it together, because I felt like I was being left out and missing out on what he was experiencing. So I think the next year he booked us flights to go to Montana. on an elk hunt.
I mean, come on, Montana.
I know, and yeah.
He's pulling out the big guns there.
Yeah. It's very sweet, and I was just going along to just follow along, like not. I just want to see. Yeah, I just want to see what this is all about, and and because he's so successful, I just thought, day one, we'll just walk in, he'll just shoot it, and then we can just enjoy the time there and just
that's
do whatever.
Works, right? You know, you just walk in, you see an elk, you shoot it. I mean,
well, that's what I figured. I'm just like, and because I've never experienced hunting with him or any kind of hunting, I just assumed that that's what it was, and it wasn't. I was like, oh, it's hard. And like we were doing, 15 miles a day, sometimes more. And it was tough. I think I saw 3 elk in like a couple days, like 3 days or something like that. But they, he really likes, a mature bull, and I'm just like learning all that as we go. I'm like, what's wrong with that one? And he's like, it's young, and I'm like, oh, okay. So it was definitely a very cool, eye-opening experience, and for the most part, I actually really didn't like it because it was hard.
Yeah.
But I
think
it's
not like a nice like trip out nature walk.
No, yeah. But it was. I think I just fell in love with being outside of what I was used to, and I was like, I can do stuff if I actually push myself to do it and push myself outside of what I'm used to, and they're the best memories that I've had. So that's
how often,
kind of how I got into it. So it was just a progression.
I mean, how often have you heard somebody say with something like that, like looking at a backcountry hunt, I couldn't go out there and do that or spend that much time out there. I have friends that complain when they have to poop in the woods. That scares them. Let alone, they're asking about this and that and the other.
Well, because it's so foreign. People are so scared of doing stuff that they're not used to doing. So once you push past that, you actually crave doing stuff that you're not used to doing.
Well, if you never push yourself to your limits, try and push beyond your limits, you're never going to actually know what your limits are, what you're legitimately capable of.
And I feel like you're not going to grow as a person and be happy within your life. If you're not growing, you're just a stagnant person, just floating through, just doing whatever means to, just satisfy that and not living life, I guess. Yeah. I mean, everyone lives life, but to experience it the way I think that people could get out of it, yeah. So.
Well, you miss so much fullness and so much variety out of life when you stay in your lane the whole time, when you don't branch out. And I mean, I've always been one of those people, like, if I see someone doing something, like, I want to learn how to do it.
I know. I'm so curious
it
about
doesn't matter
a lot
if
of things.
Shooting a bow or crocheting.
I know.
Like, I'll roll out. I've made some dang good blankets. I made some good blankets in this life.
Really? Shut up.
I'm dead serious.
Really?
It also may have had to do with all the really attractive girls that went to my college that had a crocheting group. But
wow. Were they lesbians, though?
No, none of them were. My buddies used to make fun of me. They're like, oh, you're crocheting.
Yeah.
And then one time they walked by and saw me sitting in the middle of, like, 6 very attractive young ladies. And
right, and they were just like, you the man.
They're like, oh, we get it now. Okay. Anyway. But no, it's just learning how to do stuff. And there's a sense of accomplishment there's a sense of self-sufficiency in that, even if it is silly, like, little stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, I can change out a light switch if I need to.
Yeah,
I don't need to call an electrician for something simple or anything like that.
Yeah.
There's a huge sense of self-sufficiency in that.
Yeah, I think so. And, I feel really happy with myself when, I rely on a man and Adam to do things. If I'm just like, I want to, like, move that a wardrobe into that room and do this and that, or whatever it is. And then I'm just like, oh, I really need Adam. He usually does all that sort of stuff. But then if I just attempt it and I accomplish it, I'm like, yeah, I did that.
No,
I don't need him.
It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
Like, the smallest stuff in the world, like, if you get a sense of accomplishment from that, it makes your day instantly better.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah.
So you got the kids. How many?
Yes.
How many kids?
3.
3. Whatever.
Yeah.
How old?
So Hunter, our eldest, he is
Hunter.
Yeah.
Why? It's surprise on that
okay,
name.
so that's actually a story in itself because a lot of people think, oh, Adam's a hunter. That's why you've named your son Hunter. And I'm like, no. I had that name picked out before even my husband.
How funny.
Yeah. I lived in Dallas, Texas when I was 16 till I was 18. And my little sister went to school, like elementary school, with a boy named Hunter. And she was friends with him. And I was like, I love that name. That's amazing. And I just earmarked that for the future, that if I have a son, his name will be Hunter.
Okay.
And it just is a massive coincidence that my husband is a hunter.
So you have to get that all the time, though.
I
Everyone
do.
is like,
I
oh,
do.
Hunter,
and
of course.
he does as well. Yeah. So he's 14 and a half. And then our other son, Noah, he's 11 and a half. And then Aaliyah is 9 and a half. Yeah.
So how are they with the whole hunting and the outdoors and?
Yeah, they're cool. Like, they're fine with it. And I think Aaliyah is probably the most curious.
Yeah.
But they're all so different with different personalities. And, so just predicting the future a little bit of what they're like as people. If I was to pick one of them to be in the outdoors and kind of following the Greentree path, it would be my daughter. Yeah. Well, she has an affinity with animals more than the boys. So that's why I think she's more likely to do that.
That's really cool,
Yeah. And like our eldest Hunter, he's more into city things. And like, we're staying in an Airbnb at the moment, and it's like an old sort of kind of apartment, like 2-bedroom sort of thing. He's like, oh yeah, this, and because we're right in the city, he's like, yeah, when I get older, this would suit me. And I was like, okay.
Well, you're talking to a guy who, like, my whole life plan was to drive the Roadster, the little 2-seat convertible Roadster.
Oh yeah.
To wear my suits, to live in a high-rise apartment, and be in the middle of the city. My parents used to tell me all the time, they're like, you'll want to get out of the city when you're older, trust me. And I laughed at them. And now I'm like sitting there.
Tell my son that. He doesn't believe me. I'm like, dude, I've got age on you. And he's like, no, you're wrong. And I'm like, you can apologize to me when you're 25.
Well, as you get older and you mature, your values change a lot. And you start valuing different things. And, when you're like, even when I was in my early 20s, that's when it wasn't until maybe, I think, 5 to 7 years ago that I started getting into any of this.
Right.
Like, even just any interest.
Yeah.
And,
well, we're very similar in that aspect. Yeah.
And so, like, my early 20s, honestly, through my late 20s, I just had no interest. Like, I loved going camping, and, like, I grew up, same kind of thing.
Right.
We'd go camping, but we'd, like, rent a cabin, or it would be, like, campsite, camping. And, we'd have fun, but it was like we were on holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a little British, I think.
Yeah,
it was. A little more British than Australian. I can't do an Australian accent to save my life.
Really?
I struggle with it.
You're very good with the
It always
Irish.
turns into British or Irish. That's the thing.
Oh, okay. See, if I'm pretending to be an American speaking Australian, I do a British accent because
Funny.
To me, you guys sound British, not Australian. So so I'm just like, oh, in Australia, like, that's how I imagine you guys say it.
To be honest, that is kind of how we screw it up. So.
Yeah.
But no, that's neat.
Funny.
That it'll be interesting to see how they come up, and
I just hope. I don't know. I just always worry because today is so different to how, like, you and I grew up back in, like, well, I don't even know how old you are. I think that you're younger than me, I'm assuming. But, I grew up with the original Nintendo.
Yep.
And
I still have my original one.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I still have the continue codes written on top of it in pencil.
Oh, my gosh.
From,
that's awesome.
From some of my old games.
The 80s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a different time. It's a different era with social media and the internet. Yeah, it's scary. It's scary. And, my son thinks that socializing on online games that's socializing. That's hanging out with my friends. I'm like, no, it's not. It is being social. It's completely different kind of socialization. Whereas you might not know how to interact with people in a face-to-face situation. So, yeah.
It's one of those interesting things. Like, I grew up with a computer. Like, it was an old Tandy computer where you had to type in commands to get anything to work before Windows.
Yeah.
So I grew up with one, and I played games on it. Grew up with the Nintendo.
Yeah.
But I would go out and we'd, hit each other with sticks and joust with broomsticks on our bikes and stuff like that.
We did all that as well, and just played make-believe and ran around the neighborhood and did all that fun, cool stuff because we had games, but not to the extent of today's kids.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I mean, like, it was a long day if you tried to play through Mario. The whole thing, because you couldn't quit the games.
No.
You couldn't quit the games. You turn it off, you lost
See,
your
I
place.
wasn't even allowed on the games. I had to watch my older brother.
Oh.
Because I wasn't good enough to play.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, I know.
That's rough.
Yeah, it was. But, and everything was always a competition. He's 18 months older than me. He's like, oh, I bet you I could do this and I can do that. I had him one time. One time when I was, how old was I? I can't even remember, but it was like it was back in Australia, and my parents bought like a ski boat, like a boat, and I got up on skis before he did, and I was like, yes, I'm the best. Yeah, but I was brought up very competitive in a very competitive house and very argumentative, and that's why I'm like you would probably notice on social media that I can be a little bit feisty sometimes, whereas Adam just lets it go. He's like, why do you do that? I'm like, I can't help it. I'm just like, they're talking shit and I'll just give it straight back to them. And he's like, that's what they want. And I'm like, well, they won then.
It's tough. That's a lesson I learned because, we were talking about my elk hunt earlier.
Yeah.
And, we're sitting here in the Mountain Ops booth, and I made the cardinal sin of wearing a Mountain Ops hat.
In what? In your elk hunt?
Yeah.
So?
Well,
Why?
I mean, there's the whole contingent out there that is literally just anybody that is whatsoever affiliated with Mountain Ops. It is their sole vendetta to put them down. And I'm like, I don't understand people like that. And
I don't either.
This was at the very beginning when I was just kind of figuring out how this whole industry thing works and what's what.
So
and so I started
start
responding to
hunting like kind of when Instagram was like taken off? Or?
I went on my first elk hunt 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I picked up my first bow. Well, my first compound bow. I had one growing up as a kid. But,
like a recurve or something?
Like a little youth recurve bow that I love to shoot. I should have seen the signs back then.
Yes.
But, I picked up my first compound bow 3 years ago. And I'm like, I just want to
We're
start
like
hunting, so I figured it out.
We're legit on the same timeline. Yeah. So I went on my first proper hunt not quite 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I had my bow nearly a year before I ever actually used it. So sort of the same scenario.
So tell me about that first hunt. So what was it for?
It was for fallow deer in New South Wales. And we have a property about 2.5 hours from our home in Newcastle, and sort of like inland up in the mountains. And our rut is around Easter, and the kids go on school break at Easter for like 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
And so I just said, Easter hunter. I mean, Adam, be ready for me to be a hunter. No. Yeah. I'm just like, no, when the rut's on.
You kind of made the decision. You're like, okay, this is the year, this is the season, I want it.
This is when it's going to happen.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I think it was around early April, and we were up at our property for, I think, about a week. And, yeah, every morning, every afternoon, going out. And it's weird because even though the rut was good, I was learning very quickly. Again, I'm going in thinking, Adam's right by me. He could call him in. This is going to be easy. Yeah. And, they're plentiful. I'm not picky. I just want the experience. And, it was still hard. So it was like on the last morning, and I was like, I've got to be back at 8 o'clock because I'm leaving. I've got an appointment back at home. And I'm like, I've got to be back at 8 o'clock. And it was, we were actually walking back to the cabin, and I was picking flowers. Like, seriously, I'm like, oh, it's over. It's cool. And I was cool with that. I appreciated the experience and everything that I learned. But I was like, oh, okay, it's over now. And I was picking flowers, and Adam's like, there's a buck up there. There's a buck up there. And I was like, oh. And I just, like, let go of the flowers, and he started calling it in. He was curious, but it's not like he was running in. And so he was just, kind of sussing it out. And, like, I was just nothing behind me. I was just standing in the middle of the bush, and this wallaby jumps down. And I was like, I can't believe that this is happening. I'm like, if this wallaby is coming down and doesn't smell us or see us, and I'm out in the open, then that buck might be led into like a false sense of security because our kangaroos and wallabies, they spook all the deer, usually because they all see us first.
Okay.
And then they'll hop away because there's so many of them. And then the deer will be like, what's going on? Oh, okay, we're running. Okay, bye. So it sucks. But there's something about the fact that it is so hard, and that it just makes you want it more. And so this buck ended up coming in, and it just all happened really, really quickly. And I wasn't even focusing on the animal because I was past it. I was just like, I just want a good shot. Just give me a good shot. Mm-hmm. And so I was very technical about it and just thinking, am I doing this? I'm pulling back. I'm putting the pins on it. So I'm not really thinking this is an actual live animal. I'm about to kill it. And then, so I put my, I think, 20-yard pin on him and let it go. And he ran. I thought I missed him because I didn't see the arrow hit. It was just like he just started running. And I was like, oh, I missed him. And I was like, you hit him. And I'm like, what? No, I missed him. And Adam's like, he's doing the death run. And I'm like, what the is a death run? I had no idea. I'd never seen anything. I'd never even seen him kill anything. And I started saying to him before I shot him, I'm like, dude, maybe I should just actually watch you and see you kill something so I know what to expect, what's going to happen. He's like, no, you'll be right. And, so I had no idea what a death run was or anything like that, and he literally died within like 4 seconds or 5 seconds. So he ran up, and then he was like jolting, and then because we could see up on the side of the hill, and then he just fell over. And I was like, what just happened? And Adam he's so sweet. He's such a sweetheart. And he's cool with that because he shows a lot of his vulnerability with me and the kids and stuff like that. And he got a little bit emotional and got a bit teary. And I was just in shock. I'm just like, did I just do that? I can't believe that I just did that. So that was my first experience.
That's awesome. That's so funny because it's super similar to, I took my first deer this last August.
Okay.
And very similar thing. It was like last day, we were kind of on our way out, and we spotted one. It was just all set up perfectly. The wind was great. Put on the stock and plugged it and same kind of thing. It just kind of ran. It dropped. Like, I wasn't sure. I'm like, did I hit it? It sounded like I hit it. I think I hit it. And my buddy Mason.
Oh, so you were with Mason. Yeah.
He was ranging for me.
Oh, cool.
And I was like so focused on the stalk, putting it on, like, because we spotted him on this hillside, and as we were like on a trail heading out, and so we parked and we kind of made the stalk in, and I just kept going. I was so focused on the stalk that, like, he's like, you're within your shooting range. He's like, why are you still walking? Like, oh, he's like, stop. And I'm like, he's like, okay, you're 50 now. Shoot the near.
Yeah.
And so it was a really cool thing, and like, it's one of those interesting things. So you'd never know. Like, you think like, okay, I think I can do this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it when I'm actually drawn on it.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time when I was out with Jess in Texas.
Oh, okay, cool.
She and Braxton
I
were
love her
taking
too.
me out,
I love him too. They're like my faves.
Two of my favorite people in this world.
Like, they are the most genuine, nice, caring, loving people.
And watching the two of them together is the most fun I have ever had. Just watching how they interact is just the greatest thing. But that was really my first time. Like, I think I'd drawn on a deer before from a tree stand, but it was like, it was one of those things where it was like 70 yards away or something. I just kind of drew on it to draw on it for the feeling.
Oh,
and
okay,
so, hunting hogs with them, this was my first time like legitimately drawing on an animal and like within range to shoot it. And, didn't work out so well, but learned a lot on that trip.
Pigs are strangely hard. Well, I find that the
anticipation up to it, I feel like, is the worst part. But then when you're actually in the moment, you're just going through the motions. It's kind of a crazy thing. But
see, sometimes Adam will rush me and he'll be like, take the shot, and I'm like, it's too. He's like, pull back, take the shot, and it's too rushed, and I don't like that pressure. I'm just like, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I need to actually start to be able to do stuff on my own now, and I don't tell him how to do it, but like as a student, I'm starting to sort of peel away a little bit and let me just do it at my own time and face whatever happens. And that's what I think I loved about whitetail hunting, because that's legit the first hunting experiences that I've had by myself without him whispering in my ear when to pull back, what range is it, that's a shooter, you should do, like, I'm just purely by myself. And and that's why, I don't know, just every sort of hunt is different, but that will always be very special with me because I did it on my own.
That's so cool, because it's, you need that time with someone else that knows what they're doing
to
really.
Of course, to just pick up the basics and what you're doing.
Even when you're, if you take in the mindset, you're like, okay, I know I'm going to fail at times, but I'm going to learn from them.
Exactly.
When you're alone, there's only so much you can even learn from that subject, because you're like, okay, I think I'm doing everything right. Like, you don't even know enough to know what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's, regardless of what you do, it's important to have that person. But then, same kind of thing we were talking about earlier, being able to challenge yourself and put into practice what you have learned and see how much you actually have picked up.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty cool.
Exciting.
Yeah, it was very cool. So, can't believe that we're nearly time to go home.
Yeah, you guys have been down here for a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. I'm nearly nervous to go home because it seems so far out of my reach because I've been here for so long.
This
so I'm
is
like,
the new reality.
Yes, exactly. This is our new normal. So, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. But, yeah, I've been homesick for ages. I just try not to think about it. Otherwise, I just get too upset. But, like, don't get me wrong. Like, even though that I'm homesick at the same time, I've still loved every minute of this. So, yeah.
So we're going to pause right there for just a second. Hear a word from one of my partners.
Hey y'all, if you've been listening the past 2 weeks, you have heard me talking about iSocial Boost. And honestly, I cannot say enough about what it has done to increase my social exposure in a super organic, relevant way. Let's face it, y'all. Just over a year ago, I was super stoked to be hitting the 2,000 follower mark. Now I'm up to over 25,000 folks following me on Instagram, and it is steadily rising still. Y'all, the growth is amazing, but one of the really unexpected benefits was the exposure that I get to other people and brands. Y'all, because of the way iSocial Boost builds your following, you also get the chance to engage with some really cool people that you may not have ever come across otherwise. Y'all, you really can't go wrong with iSocial Boost, especially because if you use code COUNTRY, you can get your first week for 80% off, less than a price of a beer. There is no reason not to try it out. Just give it a go. Head on over to iSocial Boost, use code COUNTRY, get 80% off your first week.
And we're back.
Nice.
After that very long commercial break.
Funny.
But, so, Adam,
Yes.
what is it like? Because he's gotten a little bit of notoriety recently.
With what? With the bison or with just in general?
He's kind of just blown up over the past
Couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. I think the pinnacle would have been the grizzly bear situation in Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that kind of, I guess, like, he's slow. He's been hunting for bow hunting for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And and he's just lived and breathed it. Like, and whatever chance he gets, he's hunting. Like, we're very fortunate to live in Australia and be able to hunt every day of the year if we want.
Mm-hmm.
So he has like a lot of experience because he just does it all the time.
Yeah.
So he went on that backcountry. He just gets something in his head. He's like, "This is what I'm doing." Kind of like what your first hunt. You're like, "Yeah, I'm waking up today, and this is what I'm doing." But yeah, he gets those same things, and he's legit like, no quit. He's not quitting it. And even when he called me from Colorado, he's like 20-something days, saw like one bull day one or whatever, and couldn't find any more. He's like, I don't want to go into Montana because he just knows that area and that it's prone to grizzly bears and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, don't go, just come home. And he's like, yeah, so, and he ended up just he does what he does. And I'm just like, okay, just don't die, okay? Please. So it's just, he's always been very extreme. Yeah. And he says that he takes in, risk management now. And I'm like, where was the risk management with New Zealand when he was in New Zealand hunting tahr, like, in the I think it was winter, yeah, and he nearly died.
Jeez.
Like off a cliff, and I'm like, and he's like, yeah, I don't mean to be in those situations, it just happens. And I'm like, ugh. I had a really, really bad feeling about that trip, and I didn't even want him to go, but yeah.
So how have things changed for you guys, just with this, I guess, newfound notoriety? Have you seen things change at all, or
not with us and our relationship, but it's changed our lives a little bit because it's just, I just find it hard to trust people. And like not so much with me. I worry about him because he's so nice and so giving, and I don't want people to take advantage of him. And and I just feel like, are you just being nice to him because like you're a sponsor? you're paid to be nice, or like
or
it's
are you
hard.
trying to get something?
Yeah.
Or, you...
or even with like just people, just whoever wants to sort of have a piece of him, sort of thing. I'm like, is that legit, or is it because you want something from us? Do you know what I mean? It sounds so cliche and silly, but you just can't help but to think those thoughts.
I mean, but it's true. It's a genuine thought, and it happens. Is people there are. I mean, I like to think that the majority of the people, you know, just
are
in
cool.
this room are cool people.
Yeah.
They're hunters. They're just genuine people, and they just love what they're doing.
Exactly.
But, you know,
but
we both
some
know
people
not
are
everyone.
different, and they have ulterior motives, and, you know, I mean, I myself personally, I cannot wrap my brain around people like that, because I don't become friends with people to get something from them. I like their friendship. I like who they are. I would never try and be like, oh, I'm only friends with blah 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 because, you know, she works at Mountain Ops, and she can get me in or get me on these hunts and blah 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 blah. I'm not like that. I couldn't give a if it came down to choosing between what I like to do and a person, and if I like that person, it's always the person. I'm not going to pick that for my own selfish reasons. I'm just not like that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's
just we're just trying to feel it out and see what happens, and I don't know. But I think for the most part, like, I can read people pretty well, so I think that who we generally surround ourselves with are good, positive people.
Yeah.
So and in this, like, don't get me wrong, like, in this industry, like, I can't believe the amazing people that we've met, like, you know, like Jess and Braxton and Rihanna, and even like Jordan Harveston and Cole Kramer over there, and just all the Gritty, like all these amazing, super cool, super nice people, and they're like our kind of people. They would do anything for you. They would give you the shirt off their back. So, and that's who we like to be with. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's one of those amazing things. It's like I came into this, I kind of met all these people from the opposite end of things, where I was the guy that it was generally, I'm not trying to say they did this, but like I was the guy that should have rightly been met with suspicion. I'm some random dude
City
with
guy.
a microphone saying, "Hey, you want to be on my podcast?" And you know, and so many of these guys were super generous, and you know, I talked with Trevor and have developed an incredible friendship with him.
Yeah.
He's one of the most genuine guys in the world.
Yeah.
You know, I remember the first time I met Brian I was such a fanboy at
Oh,
the time,
really?
too. Oh my gosh,
When was it?
I was just verbal diarrhea.
Oh,
Like
right.
It was at the Subalpine launch event that Black Ovis was doing at their headquarters.
Okay.
And so there's some they were doing like a Gritty hike, and Corey Jacobson was there, and so there was like this whole thing. And I flew out from California. I'm like, this looks like a cool weekend. Like,
exactly.
You know, it's $75 to get a ticket from LAX at the time. And
nice.
And I showed up, and like I didn't know who all was going to be there, but I was like standing in the taco line. All of a sudden, Brian turns around. He's like, "Oh, hey, I'm Brian." I'm like, I like went full on like fanboy.
Oh my gosh.
Which is so funny to me because I think I've talked about this before. But like I grew up in Southern California. I lived in Hollywood for the longest time. I mean, I would see celebrities on fairly regular basis just at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And I don't
it's
care
like
in the slightest.
whatever. Yeah.
But like I meet someone like Brian or Cam or, you know, I mean, any of these hundreds of awesome people that and I just have to like kind of collect myself for a minute.
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
Just because I admire them so much.
Yeah, I think that it's like it's a trip out. Like I get tripped out because I've never really been into people like celebrities, and like once upon a time I'll watch the Kardashians or whatever bull was going on, and you kind of get caught up in in their lives and stuff like that. And then I was just like, oh, I just don't have time for this crap. And, I just want to do my thing and do whatever that is. So I don't really care. But, so it's not like, I love Jennifer Aniston. I don't follow her on Instagram because she's doing her life. That's cool and whatever. And I'll watch her movies. Yeah. So I think that it's really weird that when people are like, oh, my God, you're so inspiring, and watching everything that I do, I'm just like, what? I just don't get it. And
you got people asking you to, do a quick video because their friends are so inspired by you.
Oh, yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I'm just like, dude, I'm just me, and I'm just doing what I like, just like everyone else.
Well, I think that's what people see, and that's what people are drawn to.
Right.
I don't think we give people enough credit for their discernment.
Okay.
People can smell bullshit from a mile away.
Right.
And, I don't think we give people enough credit for being able to do that. We think, okay, so many people get so concerned about, oh, this person is not genuine, and they're going to be fooling all these people into.
Oh, okay.
Into I'm like, no, they're not. People are gonna see them for what they are. So don't make it your job to save the hunting industry or whatever. But just focus on yourself and what you're doing, and people gravitate towards you.
I'm not. Well, both Adam and I were just like, oh, like us or don't like us. That's cool, but we're just who we are. And so what you see is what you get. So there's no pretending or scripted stuff or, I'm going to do this and get some likes and stuff like that. No, I don't give a shit. I'll post whatever I want to post. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was listening just recently to your podcast with Brad from Restless Native.
Yeah.
Brad's a good buddy.
That was a fun podcast, but it was really, really hard with and I think I spoke to you about it. I prefer to do a face-to-face because it's easier to just go back and forth rather than Skyping from two different countries, and there's a lag time, and we cut out, and blah blah blah. So it's hard.
Yeah, I did one recently with your good friend Rachel Carey.
Oh, I love her.
We had so much fun chatting, but it's definitely I've done one or two where it's been over the pond a little bit, and it can be a struggle because it's even when the connection's good, there's a delay and stuff, but. But I bring that up because I remember you saying something about Adam always posting pictures of you in the morning or something when you're just rolling around, or suddenly you're on the story.
All the time. And I've just at the beginning I was just like, why did you post that? It's disgusting. And now I'm just like, oh, I hate that photo, but whatever. I'm just over it. I'm like, it is what it is. I'm not I'm just like, that's the way I look. Yep. Okay.
So what's next? What do we expect from Kimmi this year?
Oh, it's exciting. I'm excited because, I like to know what's going to happen, but at the same time, I'm excited for different things to happen. Mainly hunting. I've been bitten pretty good. So you know how Adam used to he would go on his alone hunts and stuff like that. No. So I get super jealous now, and I'm like, oh, where are you going? No, I'm going to. And so, I want to, I love it as much as he does now, and it's just cool that we can share that together. So
here's a question for you then.
Okay.
What would you say, what advice or recommendations would you have for, say, the girlfriend or the wife that's kind of I'm kind of interested in this?
I would just
or
tell
even maybe the guy that wants to get his.
Okay, so I do get asked this quite a lot, I want to get my girlfriend into hunting and the outdoors, but I also get my wife just started getting into hunting, and which is super cool, and that's awesome. But what I would say to guys wanting their partners to get into it, I wouldn't push it. Adam's never pushed it. on me. It was all me asking him. So if a girl's interested, tell your man that you're interested and you want him to take you out and show you what it's about and stuff like that. And if you are interested, you will get bitten, and it'll take over your whole life. So yeah, and with the guy thing, if they want their partner to get into it, I would just say, just don't push it. Just if they love you enough to be curious enough to want to spend time with you, and they are kind of interested in the greater world, they'll get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, and they'll start asking questions, and it'll happen. But it was 17 years before I became interested. So yeah.
Well, you had a long way to come from the city too. It's a bit further of a journey than some people are making.
Exactly.
It takes a little bit more
and
time.
most people like in this industry are very different from you and I, because they've been brought up in the industry, or their dad took them out from a really young age and stuff like that. Well, and Adam's different as well, because he's completely self-taught. His dad, he lived on properties and stuff like that when he was young, but they more sort of used rifles for culling, property control of pigs and stuff like that. So it wasn't really he didn't think of that as hunting, so to speak. It was just more management of the
pigs
land.
Are getting into the crop
Yeah, exactly.
Scare them off or kill a few of them.
Yeah.
Get them out of there. Kind of thing.
So that's how he was kind of brought up, and in the city as well. And he went to a pawn shop. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
You guys? Yeah. How do you say it?
Pawn shop.
Pawn shop. I can't say it without it saying pawn.
Pawn.
Yeah. Anyway, he went to one of them, and he saw a compound bow up, and he was like, "What's that?" And they said, "Oh, that's a compound bow." And he was like, "Well, can I trade in this and get that?" And they said, "Yeah." And
nice.
and he taught himself how to do it, and took himself out and met a few people along the way, and
there's something about bow hunting.
So he was just hooked. He started at 17. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how old were y'all when you two met?
Okay, I'm older than Adam. Only by a year.
You cradle robber.
I know. I'm such a cougar. He was 19 and I was 20 when we met.
Okay.
So
he'd only been hunting not that long.
No, not that long. Yeah, but I could tell that he was obsessed with it straight away. The day after our first date, I went over to his house, and he's like, "This is my hunting album." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
I'm like,
"Oh, so
Instagram.
It's
actually, this is, yeah." And it's like, how do I like this? You just say you like the photo.
I like this photo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so when he was showing me through his hunting photo album, I was like, "Oh, so you actually, it wasn't just a passing comment that you do this. You actually do this."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, okay."
This is not a hobby. This is a lifestyle.
Why does there have to be blood in the photo? I was when we got our first, the first taxidermed thing that we ever got was a goat that he shot, a wild goat in Australia. And he put it up over our dining room table, and I was like, not happy.
Died.
And yeah, so I was always very adverse to all the heads and everything like that. I'm like, it looks ugly. I don't want it. I don't like it. And now I'm just like, ooh, that'd be a good skin. I love it.
Can we hang this over the back of the couch?
Yeah. We have a buffalo skull behind our couch.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah. Now we've just integrated into into our life more. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love hearing your story, because I didn't know a ton of that. I knew you didn't have a full background in hunting, but it's neat hearing someone else with. I've had a handful. I could probably count them on one hand the number of people that don't have that that I've interviewed that don't have that traditional
upbringing
that's like, oh yeah, I hunted with my dad on the he'd take me out and we'd go hunt whitetail and this and that. And so talking with someone, it's a cool to have that different perspective.
And I think you'll probably, I don't know, it just seems like more and more people like us are coming into it later on in life and realizing, I guess, with social media and the platforms of podcasts and stuff like that, it's like getting out there, reaching out to more people, and then people going, oh yeah, I really want to get my own meat. Like, do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I think that it's
well, that's a
becoming
huge
more
draw for sure.
Mainstream-ish. Not quite there, but it's getting out there. So
what would you, Kimmi? Now, what would you tell to Kimmi that was right before she met Adam?
Oh,
well,
I don't know.
What is
because
that Kimmi?
I was thinking the other day when we were skinning the bison, and that's the first time I've ever done that as well.
Yeah?
So I was doing that with Kyle Westbrook and from Packed Out, who they're just awesome people, and yeah, so it was Kyle, Adam, and myself. We're just going to town, and I go, oh my God, and they were like, what? Thinking that I'd cut myself or something, and I said, I cannot, if I had have seen me doing this 5 years ago, I would have been like, no way. Yeah. There is no way that would happen. And I was like, I've come a long way into being like, this is all, I want to experience everything. And yeah. So.
If any of my friends in college, if I had told them that oh yeah, and when was I in college? Jeez. And 15, 20 years, you're gonna be the dude that's driving a pickup truck, trying to pack stuff out of the backcountry, shooting a bow, with all these tattoos. I was like the theater kid that would wear a fedora.
Right.
I played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And I still enjoy Dungeons and Dragons. Side note, it's my little dirty secret. But
right.
No one would believe it. I'll reconnect with a lot of my old friends, and they're like,
"What?
Holy crap! Who are you?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And
well, that's what I thought the first time I ever saw. So I didn't see Adam kill the animal, but he wasn't too far away from where I was. So I went out and he gutted it, and I that was my first time. I was like, "Who are you?" And he was just like it wasn't anything, and I'm like, oh my God. I had no idea. And he's just covered in blood, and he how he guts it, and he backpacks
shoulders it
and turns it into a backpack or whatever. And I'm just like, that was what, I don't know, 9 years ago, I think. And I'm just like, I don't even know who you are, and I've been married to you for this whole time. Yeah, so it's trippy.
I just say I did that with my first deer.
Cool.
We gutted it, and I threw it up on my shoulders.
Did you hook in the...
No, this was just grab front legs, back legs, and heft it up. It wasn't that far. And to get back to where we could pull up the Ranger.
Truck. Yeah.
And so we dumped out the blood out of the body cavity.
Yeah.
But apparently we didn't dump out all of it.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently there was a little pocket that we didn't know about.
Oh, no.
So we were kind of on a hill, and so I sat down lower on the hill, and I got the shoulders up, and I went and stood up. And as I'm standing up, we both hear this slosh.
You got your period.
Oh my, yeah, pretty much. We both hear this slosh in the cavity, and it's too late at that point. I've got the momentum going, I'm getting up, and I just see Mason's face, and I'm looking at him, and both of us are like, oh, and just as I feel it pour down my back and down my side.
That's all part of it.
Oh yeah, I mean it was hilarious,
yeah.
And I think my Alaska Guide Creations chest rig is still. The back end is still fully stained in blood from it.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
It's kind of cool. Now I'm I think I need to keep this on there for luck. I can't ever wash this.
True.
And anyway,
True,
I'm not
true.
sure how you wash a chest rig anyway, but.
So people trip out with how
Yeah.
you've come into it and everything like that as well.
So do you still keep in touch with any of
Like
your old
normal
friends?
people?
Normal people.
Mainstream
Normies.
people. So my best friend in the whole world is Adam's younger sister.
Oh, okay.
So she's my best friend. So we've known each other and been friends since she was 14 when we first, Adam and I first met. And we weren't best friends when I first met her because Adam was her guardian.
Okay.
So when I moved in with Adam, it was like I kind of became like her mum in a sense, and so we did not get along because I was like, pick up your room, and yeah,
Who do you think
I'm
you are?
just
You're not
like
my mom.
a built-in mum even at like 20. When I was 20, I felt like I was about 35. Yeah, and just taking care of this teenager. But anyway, she actually grew up to be quite the woman, and yeah, I just love her to death. She lives in England now, and she works for Verizon. Yeah,
Very
so
cool.
I haven't seen her in a long time, but yeah, she's a good friend, and yeah, so I get like she's normal, but she's sort of been exposed.
She's been exposed to it.
Yeah,
So.
and my other really good friend Rhiannon, she's a normal, and she isn't into it, but she loves who I am and what I do, and supports it. I don't think she full understands it because you can't actually understand it unless you do it. So yeah.
Well, I feel like she's got to be a little bit proud of you too, that you're like.
I
taking
think
all
she
this on,
is.
you know?
I think she is. Yeah, because she's like, well, if the apocalypse happens, we'll just stay with Kim and Adam and we'll be fine. And it's like, yep,
We won't
pretty
even
much.
notice. What
Yeah,
apocalypse?
exactly. So yeah.
So, as we're kind of winding down here, if somebody came up to you and said, I've kind of been following you, I'm really inspired by this. Maybe the same background that we have. From the city, they don't have the kind of background, the resources or the access that somebody else may have.
Right.
But they want to get into hunting. What words of advice or like words of wisdom would you give to that person?
It's really hard because I've been fortunate enough, like unlike Adam and you, where you just decided, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And I've been fortunate to have like a mentor like 24/7.
Yeah.
And someone to show me everything, and someone super experienced as well. So I don't think, oh, this is wrong. Like I never think that. I don't really question him on that stuff because he just knows his shit so well that it's just not a question. So, like, I guess my first bit of advice is go to an archery store and get measured up and buy a bow. And then, locally go to an archery place and try and meet people, and they will be I'm sure they'll be nice enough to show you the ropes. And I think that that's just how most people would do it, I'm assuming. But yeah. So what do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think that that's...
No, I mean, I didn't do that, and I wish I had.
Okay.
Like, I wish I had kind of reached out to more people. I also started kind of late in the year.
on social media, like there's so many people that are just getting into it, and if you just find a good group of people that you can even just throw questions out to back and forth to find out information and stuff like that.
It's a generous community if you reach
ask
out
the right
and
questions.
ask the right questions.
Just don't ask where people are hunting.
If they want to show you,
very
they'll
taboo.
take you.
Yeah,
if they want to show you,
exactly.
they'll take you,
Yeah.
but you don't ask for it.
Yeah, no.
Well, all right, so people wanted to follow all the shenanigans online. Where are they visiting?
Well, pretty much I'm an Instagram gal. So, yeah, I'm just Kimmi Greentree on Instagram. But
With an I, not an I-E.
That's correct,
Because
yeah.
I keep wanting to spell it with an I-E,
Really?
and then I'm like, why can't I find her
get
profile right
so
now?
pissed off. I'm like, it's spelled wrong. No,
I just
don't.
like I typed that in at first. I'm like, no.
Dude, even when I got this, because I'm talking about our passes to get into the Western Hunt Expo, I even wrote in the email Kimmi Greentree, and it just says Kim Greentree, and I'm like, who the is that? So I'm used to people calling me Kimmy. Adam and my mum call me Kim. So that's about it.
A little awkward if somebody walks up, hey, Kim.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, do I know you?
I don't look at you and see a Kim. You're
Really?
Kimmy.
Oh, yay.
It's very like, it
Yeah.
would be weird. It would
It's
feel
very
weird
formal.
for me to call you.
Yeah, it's too formal. It's too serious.
It's like when somebody comes up and calls me Samuel. I'm like, what did I do?
Oh, my God, yeah.
Sorry?
No. But this year, back to that other question about what is going to happen this year. So I really want to go to New Zealand for the first time because I've never been. I know,
okay.
right? Because it's right there, and
Yeah.
I've never been. And Adam goes like once to twice a year. And so this year, yeah, that's definitely in the cards, especially Tar. I'm obsessed. Especially when the girls went, I was like, oh, I wish I could go. So, yeah, I really want to check the Tar out and see what that's about.
Well, so I'm going down for Audad, New Mexico after this, and apparently I just found out they have tar there.
What?
And they're completely unmanaged.
What?
You can go out and just hammer tar in New Mexico. They're not super they're not like tons and tons everywhere.
Right.
But apparently you can go hunt tar
How
just
did
with
they
a
get
hunting
there?
license down there.
That's crazy.
Probably the same way the Audad did.
Yeah,
Some rich person
brought 'em in.
brought them
Yeah.
over and then lost them. But,
Do I know that person? Sorry, I'm just waving at random people that aren't
mean,
waving back.
you know how it
He
goes.
looks
It's
very
like,
familiar.
you recognize everyone, and you don't know if it's because you met them or saw them on Instagram.
I know, and
then you know these people
like
on
I'm
Instagram
gonna
forever.
be completely honest. I had to ask Rihanna what your first name was because I'm like,
It's
I
not
only
on
kn-
my- it's not
no,
on my thing,
because
yeah.
I looked for it as well. I'm like, hey, what's the living in the city? What's it called
Living
again?
country in the city.
Living country in the city. It's a bit of a tongue twister. I'm like, what's his name? And she was like, Sam. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Yeah. So if your first name isn't in your Instagram handle, I don't know
gotta
who
help me
people
out
are.
here,
Yeah. So, yeah. So apart from New Zealand, I want to go on a water buffalo hunt as well.
Nice.
So it's kind of, we're just in the prelims and talking about it at the moment. Hopefully we'll get Cam and Rihanna out as well. So it'll be me, Adam, Cam, and Rihanna.
That's fun.
So
That's
that will be
exciting.
very, very cool. And what else? And then elk. Again,
Gotta chase
hopefully.
elk.
Yeah, I know.
Gotta chase the
I know.
elk.
It's such a logistical nightmare in September for us because it's my birthday, Aaliyah's birthday, and Adam's birthday all in September. And, just planning that, it's just difficult. So we'll work it out, I'm sure.
There we go. Well, thank you so much for taking the
Thanks
time to
for
hop
having
on. I had so
me.
much fun chatting with you.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll get to do this again sometime
Yes.
soon.
Yeah. Drunk
Definitely
later
like that.
tonight.
Yes. Oh, man. That's going to be... Whew.
Yeah.
But thanks
Cool.
again.
Thank you.
All right, y'all, that'll do it for episode 103 of Living Country in the City. Big thank you to Kimmi for taking the time out of a very busy expo to sit down with me. Y'all make sure you head on over to the show notes page at livingcountryinthecity.com/103. Check out links to everything we talked about in today's episode. Also, y'all, if you are looking to build up or start your brand and really take it to the next level, make sure you hit me up, get yourself in a brand new website, and also check out isocialboost.com. Really boost up your social presence in a super organic way and use code COUNTRY. Get 80% off your first week. No reason not to check it out. Thank you all for listening, but until next time, keep it country, y'all.
Thank y'all for listening to Living Country in the City. Get show notes and check out the blog, product reviews, events, and more at livingcountryinthecity.com.